so ready, and he's so naturally like blended and fit in there. It was beautiful. We had a beautiful time together. Only thing missing was you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll wait for my next calling.
Yeah, it's a calling. India's a calling, but
Yes,
when
Definitely
it's
a
right, it's right. Aw, so
Mm,
good to
fantastic.
yeah. So lovely to see you all.
my
Yeah.
goodness.
Slowly, slowly, everybody's coming up.
Yeah, I'm getting
I'm gonna
this.
unmute myself for
Yeah.
the time being.
Yeah.
Maybe mute yourself.
There you go.
Okay, I think here we go.
Yeah, we can start, and as people join, they can join in. Anyway, we basically wanted to get together and just see your faces. We've been hibernating a little bit.
Yogi hibernating.
Yeah, well, we kind of relocated to LA.
Back to LA.
Yeah, back to LA. We were 8 years down in Huntington Beach,
Nine.
living close by the beach. Change of lifestyle, and we decided to come back to LA. The calling was to come here. We didn't ever think we would move back up here
No way.
to the big city, but
No way. Thought we were done here,
Yeah.
and then here we are.
and when the calling comes, you can resist it, you can fight it, you can do whatever, but in the end, it wins.
You can fight the Dharma, but you can't run from it.
It finds you.
It
Yeah.
does, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually a funny thing. If you avoid things, I'm sure you guys have seen this for yourself. You suddenly wake up in the middle of the night and you have to work through it. At some point it gets you in that silent time. Not when everything's super busy, maybe, but in that silent time, it suddenly wakes you up and goes, you haven't dealt with this. You got to deal with this. So LA is, been here a year and a half, and we didn't know why we been called to come back up here. We're like the big city again, and we've always lived in big cities, but it's kind of
Huntington Beach was our temple. It was just, so many of you joined us there. It was just so intimate, and we got really comfortable there. My whole family's from there, our family, but my side of the family. And new little ones were being born, and life was just so yummy and perfect there. And then it was like I said when we landed back in LA, I felt like someone had just like I was on a boomerang and I just got catapulted back into LA. And I remember that first month or two, I just sat here with this. The house is a little bit up on a hill, and it looks over literally like the cityscape of downtown LA, and which we're looking out on right now. And I just went, okay, what am I doing here? And then I would ask him, what are we doing here? And it took a minute to figure out, and we'll get to that. But what we did do in the past year is we were able to also take 3 inner immersions in India with our guru, back at the ashram, back at the temple where we were married, and which is our heart's home. So it's really important as teachers, just first as teachers and practitioners of Ayurveda, that you reconnect with the masters that taught you, that you do what we're doing here, but engage in satsang, in seva, and take those inner immersions to expand again. And then you come out and you have something, more to offer. And so that was beautiful. We spent a lot of the past year, 3 times in a year, which was amazing, in India. And then we came back up here to LA, and a lot of the work, at least that I had been doing for the past 10 years, was really training people on the yogic path. Whatever personalizing practices that worked for every individual, because that is what the complete science of yoga is about. Whether you are more intellectually driven, whether you are more emotionally driven, whether you are more active and need to keep busy. You have the science of Kriya Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga, or Jnana Yoga. Whatever it is for every individual, there was something to serve them. And I love just creating practices for people, and working on Inspire Living, and sharing different little series, so that people could grow and get a taste of all these different things and different yogas and see what serves them. Then we were up here after the pandemic, and having been away from LA for 9 years, and it was an awakening, because like my heart now is always like, I'm telling them all the time, like, I just feel such compassion. I always like, it brings me to tears how much suffering there is here in the city. I just came from the farmer's market, and I drive down Sunset Boulevard, and then over to Hollywood. And it's just like, I remember when I first went to India in 2008, I'd never seen like, people living on the streets like that. And you see that here and now in LA. And suddenly I went, well, yeah, this isn't so much about teaching everybody spiritual practice. I saw that people were suffering, and we needed to step out and help people. And what I found more than anything, more than a lot of the other, physical aspects and practice aspects of yoga, is that people needed to release tension in the mind, tension in the body. Even our group of people that we even see here in LA, everyone was having a lot more physical problems. It was amazing, even the cancer cases, how things were just manifesting. A lot more illnesses in body, a lot more nervous disorders in the body. So we were seeing this impact that it was having on the tension on people's mind, how it was affecting the body. Of course, mind and body are, directly connected, and so that how it was affecting people's nervous system. And then you were visibly watching people break down. And I'm talking a spectrum of people, from corporate business people to, celebrity people, to right here on the streets, to the homeless.
A lot of young people as well.
A lot of young people, a lot of youth, teenage people, kids, 6 years old, 7 years old, with different we see it as tensions that need to be released. So the big practice has just been now getting people into what I find easiest to explain is the alpha zone. So getting out of those, beta waves that we function all day long, which is causing all of that analyzing and emotionality and tensions. When you're not being able to release it, we need to start to activate the alpha waves in the brain before you even get into theta and deep states of meditation. Like, activate the alpha waves in the brain so that you can release the mental tensions, release the emotional tensions, so you can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, and so that the body can start to rejuvenate and restore itself and bring it back to balance. When the alpha waves are active, it activates the endocrine system, bringing balance to the glands of the body, which distribute the chemicals and the hormones of the body. When that's balanced, it makes us feel emotionally balanced. And when you're emotionally balanced, the days of your life are a lot more peaceful and grounded. So it's just been that. It's like just trying to facilitate it's alpha practices to help people just activate that, experience that through retreats, through guided meditations. And that's pretty much what I've been doing.
Yeah, we've had to adjust. The usefulness of what we do is we go and train. We're always in training. We sit with, very learned doctors and gurus, and then we come back and it's like, how are you most useful to people? And it's not what we want to do. Before, we spoke a lot about spirituality, and now we're getting down, like Jamar said, is really getting down to the practicality of spirituality is almost a luxury in a way. It's now, through Ayurveda, for example, on my side, is 10 years ago, I used to see, yeah, we can cure a lot of these problems. Now I'm seeing is we're getting to the managing stage. We can't cure a lot of even the basic things, because not because the ailments are getting bigger or stronger. It's just our lifestyles are becoming more and more sort of unbalanced. And we realized that when we moved here, because, this city's got however many millions of people in it every day, people are just managing. They're no longer kind of thriving in it, no matter how rich they are or, poor they are. They're just you're living in the same tension. I went to New York a couple of days ago for the week. Same thing. It's just tension. Everybody is tense. So when we want to solve an ailment, for example, even basic stuff, your lifestyle is what gets in the way of getting better. It's your thinking that gets in the way of getting better, So the conversations that we have with ourselves is what's keeping us from or helping us to heal, right? So I'm looking really at the body and the mind. She's looking at the mind in particular. We're looking at how do we, serve ourselves and you and, everybody else. And we're starting to see that it's really getting down to the basic things again, the simplicity of everything, and saying, what are those things in life that we really don't need around us? It could be just things we do. It could be too many clothes. It can be whatever. And after COVID, the message that I was hearing from most people was, I'm reevaluating my life. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? How important is it to me? Because everybody got some still time that they didn't before. So it made a lot of people nervous. All the people who love to move or needed to move, it made them more nervous. But it gave a lot of people the opportunity to be still and then decide, what am I doing? And now we're, a few years later, maybe we are doing some of those things. But simplicity and simplifying is, I think, part of the journey at all times. I'm now in my 50s, and where I was 10 years ago and 10 years before that, I've looked over that time and said, am I seeing a trend that I'm keep simplifying? Yes. And I have a partner who simplifies too, so it makes it easier if you're doing it together. And although we have a big house here, we don't live in it most of the time. We live in small apartment downstairs, because we still like that coziness of a small place, because it's kind of a reflection of in India, we go and live in one room, and there's nothing in that room. There's a small cupboard, the bathroom.
We'll take you a walk. We'll show you later at the end of this talk. Yeah.
I'll
Check
show
it
you
out.
down.
Yeah,
Show you downstairs.
This house, we said, what are we going to do with all of this space? So we opened it up for retreats where, thank you all for joining us in Huntington Beach and sleeping in a common room on the floor with everybody, but you have rooms here. Evelyn and Jamie, they were one of the first to come, and they were like, what, is this really our room with a shower and your own bathroom and all of that? We said, yeah, I mean, let this house be an offering to everyone, where just being here is an experience in itself of unwinding and relaxing. And then you know me, I love to cook, but it was amazing to have Meredith come in. She's an Ayurvedic chef, and just prepare these beautiful spreads for, you know, like brunch and early dinner. And so then I was able to sit with everyone and teach more and talk more. And then we had some different, you know, therapies where you can go and do the Ayurvedic Swedana, the sweat tents. And it was pretty. And we said, okay, well, let's just do this. Let's leave the house as an offering. And then you'll see down underneath the house is kind of our yogi den is what people call it.
Well, we've been talking now because we're downstairs all the time in our little den, turning the house into a wellness center and just having it operate like that all the time. So people can come also daily and just pop in for 2 hours, you know, leave their phone in the car, leave the computer, and come, you know, if you got an ailment, do a consultation or do a session, eat a bowl of dal, you know, sit in the hot steam tent, you know, learn some things that are, you know, good for you so you can go home and do them.
Just open doors like the ashram in India, like the temple. It's running every day and the doors are open for people that just need to come and be.
Yeah. So that's sort of the evolution of us.
Yeah.
Anyway, but getting together, we wanted to, you know, chat with you guys if you have questions, and we can sort of evolve together here. So if any of you got questions,
And really open to hearing what your needs are, especially for the Inspire Living platform, so that as we move forward in this new chapter, to record and share, or I've been thinking maybe, because if we're turning this more into a center, to do a lot of the classes that I'll be teaching live, so that, you know, everyone can join in if they want. But we want to hear from you as well. Like, what are your needs at this time, and what do you want?
So I think so Jan is going to start, but if you have a question, you just use your screen and you put the hand up, and then we'll unmute and we'll.
I'd just like to say hello to everybody from England.
Hi.
I'm delighted that I could actually connect. I didn't know if I'd be able to or not. But I first found you years and years and years ago on one of the satellite TV programs. I was following your course that you did on there. So I followed that years ago, and I've bought your book since, and I've kept up with all your emails and everything since. And obviously through the Inspire emails and everything. And yes, I've followed your meditations and everything. And just recently, my yoga teacher has actually she's given up through ill health. So my yoga lessons have now ceased. But yes, I'm pleased to have met you sort of years ago. I just wish you were a lot nearer.
Well, luckily we have this medium to connect. So
yes, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to connect or not, but I say I'm glad I could. I found that you were saying about COVID and everything. I found that the main problem we've had over here since then is, there seems to be an undercurrent of aggression with people that I've noticed that there wasn't there before.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
I think it's what we were talking about. COVID made everybody, it took us into a place that we had never been, which is uncertain. So when we're living our lives on a daily basis, we pretty much forget that we're not in control. We think we are in control. So for example, I was doing something yesterday and everything seemingly was going my way. So I stopped for a moment and I was thinking, what does that mean? It's going my way. That means I'm getting my way, right? So the weather was good. I had to move some things. We were doing some things around the house. It kind of all went to schedule, right? Then I read, there was a plane yesterday and it was in turbulence and it didn't go people's way, right? So what happened with COVID was everybody stopped and suddenly got frightened that, well, what if this is our reality? So it brought different, we call them the elements of fire, earth, and air. It brought up the element in everybody, more of fire, more of air, more of that kind of aggression, because it's that fight or flight kind of feeling of, I am out of control. I don't have control, you know?
They forgot their manners as well.
Yeah, which go with it. So, so I think a lot of that happened, and now people have kind of forgotten about COVID. But the residue and the result of COVID and that time is still with people. People are still, you know, not understanding what actually exactly happened. And we're still digesting this information. So time is a great healer, but you have to spend time on that healing. As a collective, you know, we went through it individually, but as a collective, it's also affected us, you know? So now we're seeing, you know, a lot of people's minds are disturbed, a lot of more ailments there, you know, because it ungrounded everybody. So that's the main thing that I see. But we have to individually heal, and we have to heal as a collective. Unfortunately, what happens is we come together when there's a disaster. We don't collectively come together when there's amazing, beautiful, loving things happening. 9/11, for example, when I was there, people got together because they were fearful. It wasn't out of love and unity. It was just fear was bringing people together. And literally 2 weeks later, they were forgot about it, you know? So it's really something more and more we have to connect with, is connect with people, connect. And it's okay. We don't agree. We can disagree. You know, but we come together, you know, so that I think is an important aspect of it, because when we're together, we're going to have to hear each other's point of view. And some of it's going to bother us, some of it's going to please us, some of it's going to annoy us. And that's a good thing, because we shouldn't be getting our way most of the time. We should be a little uncomfortable. We should be a little, you know, because if we can find that joy in the discomfort, it's easy to find that joy when everything's, you know, going well.
It's called getting your buttons pushed. We all have buttons, and go to the ashram, and it's called Button Central. And for some reason, they'll put you exactly around the people and exactly in the department doing the seva that's going to push your buttons. Why? Because you realize those buttons are always there. What we do in our little controlled environments in our lives back at home is we kind of suppress those buttons by not putting ourselves in situations or around people that are going to aggravate and press those buttons, unless you're in a work environment, and then, you know, there'll always be that person or that situation or that boss or that colleague, you know, that can do that. But in general, we surround ourselves with our friends and maybe quickly, you know, in and out with our family, but we keep everything kind of buffered. Well, when you get to the ashram and you go to the Guru Tattva, that frequency of like, I'm going to help you evolve, and I'm here to help you evolve. It's called Button Central, and everything is just pushing your triggers to react, and you're annoyed and you're aggravated, and it's the things you don't like. But what you realize is that, oh, you start to first realize they're always there. You can't avoid it. You can't just keep staying in our own little bubble. It gives you the ability to become aware of those buttons and start to transcend them. And it's within a space of love, and all these people that maybe, or these situations that are pushing your buttons, are like-minded souls that have come together and are there for the same reason as you. So it's a workout. Like, we've been at the ashram 3 times this year, and I just laugh because, like, some things that'll bother him, I'm like, and things that bother me are just, it's so different for every single one of us.
Yeah, we need to be bothered. We need to care.
Yeah.
And most of the time, we're not going to ask for it, because we want to hang out with the people we like and the people we vibe with and all this kind of language we have. but we need to live more tribally, so to speak, so that all our aspects of our life, of our faculties, of our mind, of our ideas and everything come out so we can work them out, right? And that's a healthy thing, instead of kind of what happened during COVID. You know, a lot of people went into themselves and stayed alone or spent a lot of time online and watch videos or whatever they did. It wasn't healthy, because then they came out and they didn't know how to act with everybody again, you know, and be with people. So that's a little bit about that, but we definitely need to commune more. And don't worry about people who are rude and don't have manners. We have to be patient. And whenever that happens, I always think there's nothing, or I should say, there's very little that I haven't done myself, whether it's been good or bad. So there's always going to be somebody who's further up the road than me, evolved, and some people at the same level, some people behind me. We're all kind of walking in the same direction. So we have to be a little patient with each other, you know, and learn from each other. And sometimes even when people are rude, they can still teach us something.
Next hand.
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna unmute.
I can't
Oh.
read the name, it's so small. Preeti?
Hi there.
Hey guys, you can hear me?
Hi.
Hello.
Namaste.
Namaste. Nice
How
to
are
see
you?
you. It has been a while and hope you look good, so must be doing well and the right things. You're saying all the right things, and I have to say that I missed the opportunity last year to join you guys for your upper floor, but maybe next time.
Mm.
I look forward to that. And I haven't formed my thoughts very well for this or question, if you want to call it. It just came to my mind as I was listening, and there's already conflict happening in my mind as you are saying the right things. And so it sounds personal, but I think it can be applied generic. But before I go there, I want to, you might already know, but I want to share something with you. You guys refer to India quite a lot. There is a saying in India, and there is a bird in India. I don't know the name of the bird. They call it tatiri in India, and in North India at least. And that bird flies high in the sky and makes a very chilling, squeaking sound. And the saying is that, you know what, the bird is thinking that if I stop making noise, sky is going to fall.
Hmm.
And so that kind of leads to the feeling of control.
Mhm.
And the question probably I have is, I'm of your age, Yogi, and I'm a professional, very driven, but getting to a point, I also hear that the happiness curve is like U-shaped. In your 1820s, you are happy, and then it keeps going down. And once you are like, I think the scientific number is 49 years, that's the lowest point, and then it starts going up.
Hmm.
And so it obviously it doesn't happen on its own. Your experiences come into play. So I'm at a stage, the conflict is, so I can basically leave my job, retire, and still survive. And so on one day, I just want to leave, next day, next month, and I'm done. I think I have done enough. I think I have worked for about 38 years in my life so far, started early. But the other day I feel like, you know what? I don't think I'm going anywhere for next 20 years. And I need to work, and there's nothing that's going to change with me. I'm healthy. I'll stay like that forever. And probably this world needs me. I need to keep doing so. That's very big conflict. It's not about money. It's not about, I don't know what it is about. And I like those things. You mentioned living tribally, yes. But I think I'm getting farther away from that. I'm buying more clothes, I'm buying more things, and I'm attracted to more things. It should be the other way around. And I enjoy that. And so, should I take that enjoyment away and just put myself into that mode? Or maybe naturally things will fall in place, something will happen that will kick me into that mode. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
I personally gauge it with, am I peaceful? Are the things I'm doing peaceful, right? Somebody else might think of joy. I don't particularly think about joy. It's not something that and we have this conversation a lot about joy. I don't think about joy, which may be a problem or not, I don't know. but I do think about peace. It's okay to buy things. You know, there's many stories of kings that have been living in great opulence and great wealth, but some have been affected by it and some have not. You know, are the things that you're drawn to, you know, are they taking away from your peace? That's my personal thing. You know, yours may be joy, yours may be something else. I think you need to know what that focus is, you know. And then about your job, what are you going to do if you do stop? Because you're still young, you still need to work, do something. You may not need to earn money, but what are you going to do with that time? I think that's a question I would ask myself for sure.
And that definitely is a big challenge, and I don't have answer to that.
Yeah, well, you know, everything takes preparation. So I think before we give up our job or we spend time in getting to know ourselves, maybe, you know, what kind of person am I? Am I more fiery? Am I more, you know, earthy? So I'm a little bit more earthy. She's a bit more fiery. She needs things to do all the time. Like she's really good at doing 10 things.
Shakti.
Shakti. I'm slower. You know, I talk slower, I do slower. So doing 10 things for me isn't the thing. I'm going more slow and steady. So if you get to know more about yourself, then you can start to know, well, if I did stop my work, what would I be doing? And what things would I be doing? You know?
I think you have to look at, let's just say 3 different things. First, purpose. They say that the root, I remember when I was first studying Ayurveda, the root cause of disease is lack of someone losing their purpose. And you see that a lot with the elderly, even when they are at a point, like my grandmother, who's now 97, you know, you saw her go into her 90s. My grandmother was widowed at 52. She raised the entire family, raised me, you know, cooked for us multiple meals a day, cared for us, took care of the home. But she started to lose her faculties to be able to do that in her 90s, but her mind was still there, although the body wasn't able to do all of that. And you started to see her suffer because her purpose was lost. So we realized, oh, we have to keep giving her purpose. So we let her sit at the table and prep vegetables we were cooking, or give her activities to do, or not just like in the beginning, we'd be like, no, grandma, it's okay. Just, we got it. Because you're trying to relieve them because you don't want them to, but that wasn't the answer. She suffered with that. We need purpose. So no matter what, remember that that's one of the roots of our human experience, is to continually to have, you know, some thread of some seed of purpose in your life. Another thing to look at is, how is your prana? How is your chitta prana, your mind energy? How is your prana shakti, your body energy? Some people start to slow down. My uncle is in his 60s, and he's been, you know, a computer engineer for going like you, 38, 40 years. And he cannot wait to retire. He's like, he wants to travel. He wants to, you know, at least for a while, to slow the gears down. He wants to be with family. He wants to cherish the moments. That's the space that he's in right now. My mom is 10 years older than him. She decided in her 60s to go back and get her master's degree in nursing. She's been working as a nurse in the neonatal intensive care unit her entire life. And She went back to get her master's degree so she can continue working because she's now managing the NICU unit. She then just started a few years ago to ballroom dancing again, which she hadn't done in decades. She's competing. She's winning like gold trophies in the senior division of ballroom dancing. She's also going through, if you look at the planets, if you've ever done Jyotish in Vedic astrology, she's going through her sun cycle, her Mahadosha, the planet that is most influencing her and giving her the energy at this phase of her life is the sun. That's all about physicality. That's all about strength. It shows. So look at the dashas, the planets. What cycle are you in? When is it going to be the stage that you maybe want to introvert or that you want to slow down? Or is it a stage that you still have more to express? You have more energy to, you know, mentally express, to physically express. And then always remember though, that whatever choices you're making, two things to consider is keep that thread of purpose in your life and let your mind, you know, and that purpose could be just setting that intention that I want to be of service to my family at this time. I want to be able to connect and have more time with my family or, you know, with my partner or whatever that is. But always like give that mind and that energy direction so it knows, oh, I'm living my purpose. Because the second you go, whoa, what am I doing? I mean, I'm just doing nothing, then health problems start to happen, mental problems start to happen. So purpose is kind of our foundation. And then like Yogi said, peace. Choose what's peaceful, whatever it is. And if, you know, like my mom's still working 12-hour shifts, going to ballroom dance classes on her days off, traveling, I mean, you know, planning parties, everything that we do now with the family, she's like planned some theme party. Like she's got so much energy. We're all exhausted watching her. But you know, that's what's true to her. And we each have, there's no actual cycle that we can say this is what should be done at this point. We have to tune into self and say what's true to myself at this point on my journey and be true to that. And if that is shopping and getting some more clothes and living that, we're here to express our karmas. And if the karmas are creating desires that want you to shop, that don't want you to go out and be a seva or, you know, in India, retreat to the forest and detach from life, then continue to express your karmas. Because that is the evolution. When the karmas are expressed, when the desires are expressed and manifested, then and then you go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Sorry, I'm kidding.
I think for everybody, very important, whatever undertaking you take, it needs to be very much a part of your personality and then match the energy that you have at that time. So for example, her uncle goes biking. He can bike and bike and bike. He's got a lot of energy for that, but he's kind of burnt out and finished with work in that format. So he's starting to understand, I still have energy, I'm still youthful, but that energy is now going to shift a little more this way rather than this way. So before we make those, I mean, we've had to do it many times. We think, oh, we'll go to India, we'll go live in the village, it'll be great. But we're kind of romanticizing something because when we look at our Vedic charts, that's not where it says go. That would be us leaving society and it would be a disaster. We'll probably go through horrible times because we're supposed to be here and doing what we do here. Although we didn't think that this is what we wanted to do, right? Moving back to the big city was not part of our plan. Being in chaos and noise and all that was not part of the plan. But you have to step up because our energy level is still high. We're still vibrant. We still want to do things. We still want to be involved. So we're not slowing down anytime. So when you guys come to choose things, it's very important you know a lot about yourself and what stage of life you're in so you can match the things that you want to do with the energy that comes behind it, that Shakti that is necessary. Yeah.
No, that's great. That's very helpful and very insightful. And look forward to having these conversations when we come over and visit you guys sometime.
Yeah, we'd
wonderful.
love that.
Thank you.
Love that. Okay, moving on to Arnie.
Huh.
Hi, Arnie.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Hello. I was wondering, what is the Ayurvedic view on cancer, specifically breast cancer?
Mhm. So any disease, whether it's cancer, whether it's the flu, it has a beginning. It can be hereditary. Hereditary, more to us, is karma. Karma is not a good or a bad thing. Karma just means action. So in our bodies, the soul took the body, came into this body, yours, mine, everybody else. It came with a purpose. We don't always understand what that purpose is because we're more cerebral, we're thinking. It's more in the intuition that we start to understand and connect with soul. That's the spiritual aspect of it. Cancer itself is, let's say, you could have had a headache 30 years ago and it turned into cancer today, right? Because the mind is what's affecting the body. We could have a thought for 30 years, 20 years or 10 years or whatever it is. That thought turns into cancer, right? Or environmentally, something happened, we ingested something, or pollution, something like that turned into cancer. Cancer is the sort of headache or whatever else that was super basic at the beginning. It's traveled along the road, and 10 miles down that road, it turned into cancer. It wasn't cancer straight away, let's say, right? But we don't know when it came up. In some people, it's very obvious, right? If somebody is very nervous, very negative, or whatever it is, it can be very obvious how quickly it grows in them. So one person that I know, very fiery, very opinionated, very strong, very cerebral, but a kind of a genius guy. He can fly airplanes. He can do so much. He has extreme knowledge. But he suddenly got this stage 3 cancer, very aggressive, growing, and it's very hard to do surgery on it, where it's located. From my point of view, he just burnt out, right? Because I've known him at least 15 years. I could see the trajectory of, if it wasn't cancer, it was going to be something, because when you're going at that pace continuously, the body won't be able to manage it. Now, you asked about breast cancer. What specifically comes in breast cancer? We don't know. Why there? Metaphysics can speak about this area, but we don't know exactly why each cancer goes to wherever it is. We can surmise what it is. Ayurveda has ideas about it as well. But really, Ayurveda spends more time on what are the treatments for it, and how aggressive is it, and really spending the time on you as the person, not the disease itself. Because way back then, no disease was ever named. It was just, who is the person? Where is the suffering? Where has that ailment, that weakness gathered? And how are we going to treat it? That's really the basis of Ayurveda from 5,000 years ago. Until it was put into 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, when other physicians came along and they started to name certain things. We didn't actually have name for things, but we're really treating you. So if I'm treating you, I'm not thinking about breast cancer. I'm just saying, who is Arnie? Where has she come from? How has she been living her life? What is the state of her mind now? What is the state of her body right now? And what does she want to do about it? And the reason the question is for you or for whoever it is you're asking for is because exactly what we were talking about before, we have to know who we are. And, you know, how much discipline do we have? How much do we care about something? Because at times that I've treated different people, even if they've had cancer, they don't always want to do what it takes to actually, you know, have a go at curing it or managing it. All right. It's a very specific thing. And that's why most people go to doctors. So the person that I'm talking about who can fly planes and doing all these things, they're going to a doctor and they're doing chemotherapy and things like that because they don't have the willpower to take all the herbs, do all the treatments and all that it takes, because it's a longer road and it's not always successful. You know, neither is allopathic medicine, but if you don't have the sort of patience and discipline for it, it's I say that's a better route to take because it may or may not help you.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was very insightful. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you know, everything we're talking about, maybe Arnie brings up cancer, or we were talking about, you know, giving up your work, maybe. Nothing that we talk about isn't connected. It's all connected because we are beings, we are human beings going through many of the same things, all of us, whether it's work, family, relationships, whether it's disease or it's giving up our work or whatever we're talking about. I would look at it, this is the way we look at it, is it's connected. It's all coming from the past into the present. How we deal with it in the present makes the future of our future of our body and our mind, how healthy we're going to be, how unhealthy we're going to be. So none of it is disconnected. So when you're listening to any of it, it's not that you have or don't have cancer that it pertains to you or not. It actually is more about the mindset or how we treat the person and not the disease itself.
Yeah, I
Okay.
appreciate the spiritual view of it and the holistic view. It gives a different perspective. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, even if you're not spiritually inclined, you are feeling it within you. You know, you will privately feel it, even if it's not on the surface. That's why we're looking at the body, the mind, and spirit, because ultimately we are spiritual beings in this body with a mind going through life and our own karmas, but we live in the same collective world. And the beautiful thing is we can actually go through it all together, which I find a lot of comfort in. We don't have to do it just alone all the time. Okay, Zach.
Okay, it's actually going to be Ellen.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
You too. I was very much struck by what both of you said. I was kind of listening in with Zach, and when you said we're going back to LA and we can't believe we're doing this. Amazingly, we are going through the same thing. We ended up, after leaving LA, we were in Philadelphia, which was not a great COVID landing spot. And then we moved to Maine. And one would think, calm, it's beautiful, there's plenty of water, very lakes and rivers and nature, and it's very little traffic. And last week, I turned to Zach and to Bennett and said, we've got to go back to Denver. Ever since we've been here, which has been about a year and a half, my heart hasn't stopped racing. My blood pressure is through the charts. And my cholesterol is crazy and I'm that close to, to them telling me I have diabetes. And it's like, how did that happen in this peaceful, calm, beautiful setting?
Mhm.
I have, and when I did that silent moment of like, okay, let's figure this out. I'm bored. I'm lonely. I
Mhm.
don't feel that I have any purpose. And this baby has been born. She's going to grow up in Los Angeles. We're not really wanting to go back to Los Angeles, but if we're in Denver, it's a real short hop from DIA over to Burbank.
Mhm.
And it was like, oh, okay, I feel good about this. Zach can reconnect with friends. So he's very, very good about staying in touch.
Mhm.
And for him, it will probably be just a natural, walking back into friendships and relationships and places. My friends all scattered, so it's going to be a little bit harder to find those connections. But it's work. I don't have to, there's no work here. There's nothing for me to do.
Yeah.
And I think that, I'm thinking if I get back into more movement, more energy being expended, rather than that elevating my blood pressure, I think that might be what is going to bring it down. And I was just really struck by, what you were saying about your uncle and your mom, that, I turned 70 this year, and you think, oh, well, this is when I'm going to knit. This is where I'm going to take walks and do all of this stuff that, raising 4 kids didn't really allow for.
Mm.
But it's awful. It's awful. And I really, really appreciate your stories because it's helping me to say, yes, as crazy as it is to pick up and move 2,000 miles yet again, it's the right thing to do.
Right.
Mm. Yeah.
That's the beauty of these gatherings, and sharing, is that we serve one another in just sharing our experience and our process, and any wisdom that we've gotten within it. It's just the beauty of these gatherings. I'm so happy to see you all here.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta, the purpose, if we're not purposeful, similar thing in Huntington Beach, it was cozy, it was perfect, and then it didn't serve anymore.
Mm.
And then you have to get up and you have to move, and you're like you, I've got to move again. Why? And then once you look at it and your heart knows and your intuition knows, and of course your mind at that point comes in and says, none of this makes sense. Let's just stay where we are. We're very cool, easy. This is all set up right now. We don't need the hassle. Who needs the craziness of that? But it's the right thing. And when you do the right thing and you know it's already true because it's hit you here, then all will turn out better. It's always going to be better because, like what I said before, when we get comfortable, something will come and it will move us because we're not supposed to be always that comfortable. I was 2 years before we got together, I was happily single for a couple of years, and I was like, oh, this is kind of blissful. This is amazing. I can just be blissful, beautiful, boom. And then you come together and it just creates craziness for a moment, and we were just saying, right, the other day, we were saying, actually, after about 10, 11 years, we've now settled into some kind of rooted, grounding thing together. Because when you bring two people who are on the spiritual path together, you're banging heads, you're moving this way, you're moving this way, you're trying to find your way.
Well, you can't escape.
Yeah.
We illuminate everything immediately. So there's no hiding from like, you know, evolution. So we're constantly, you know, lovingly like bringing the other into awareness.
Yeah, and it's awkward sometimes.
So it's a lot of work sometimes, you know. So we were just saying the other day, like, oh, wow, like that was really hard that first 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so like blissful now, and like I don't know, just more ease and flow.
Yeah, do not ask the universe
For a spiritual partner.
for a spiritual life if it's not for you.
Yeah.
So again, everything is connected, right? We were talking about before finding purpose, and before that, the question was about the job. You know, don't give up your job if it's perfect for you right now, even if it's awkward or if it's not super fulfilling, because there's a time and place for everything. When I was alone for a couple of years, I got comfortable, and almost we call it Devi, the divine, or the universe, if you want, said, okay, so you've accomplished that being alone and you've grounded in it so well done. That doesn't serve you anymore. Now here's what will serve you. And right. So we just have to be open to the next thing and just know it's right. It's good. Especially if it's a little, you know, challenging and awkward, and it doesn't have to be super extreme just because our mind thought about it, but it's more something our heart feels very deeply about. Then we know we're on the right track. Yeah. So you're going to move, and it's going to be what it will be, but you're 70, you're young, you need things to do, you need to connect. So it's going to be great. And Zach's going to connect with friends. It's going to be good for everybody. And it's going to have its challenges.
Of course.
Which are beautiful too.
Yes. Anyone want a house in Maine?
Of course. Yeah. When we welcome things and we don't fight them, we don't add to the challenge. The challenge is as it needs to be. It's our resistance to the challenge that makes it even bigger. So if you're not resisting any of it and you're just going, all will be fine, all will be good. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, we becoming a creature of habit is not always great. Even in our spiritual practice, even when we get comfortable in something, we know something's going to come, a new thing needs to come, and then the next thing needs to come. So getting comfortable isn't a good thing most of the time.
Guru does that at the ashram to like the swamis that live there. As soon as they get like comfortable in their position and in their department of that they're, what they're operating, or in the dorm or the building that they're living in, they'll just flip them out, put them in another department with another roommate, and take all their comfort and all their, like
responsibilities.
Take all their comfort away, literally, like turn them inside out and upside down, until it's all good everywhere you go and every situation. But it's so interesting that how that works, because it happens to us a lot, and every time you feel so much lighter when you are put. By the way, Tantra means expansion of consciousness, and the science of Tantra, it teaches that it is through tension, conflict, that triggers our instinct to want to get out of discomfort. So all of the tension and the conflict and the discomfort triggers us to want to go, to expand, to get over it, to transcend it, to move past it. But to take action, to use energy to expand and shift a situation. And that is actually the natural evolution of life. is all of the discomfort that we feel, which cancer would be one. In the sense that everyone that I've ever worked with has had a profound journey when cancer, came into their life for that moment. In first having to, you can't be about anything else except yourself at that point. So to take immediately to take that journey of self-awareness, self-love, self-care, you'll have to, and then self-observation, because they're understanding their habits in their life, their choices in their life, their emotional processes, their relationships, and that's the blessing in the way of this, this journey of cancer coming through, of triggering that through them. And every time I've seen this evolution, and this expansiveness in themselves and in their hearts. So
yeah, for anybody who saw that episode of Root Cause on social media or on Inspire Living with Taylor Dane,
yeah,
she went through, and she was talking about it openly, of how she got cancer and how it affected her life and all the changes she had to make. And she was with us the other day, and she was talking about so many therapies she's doing, so many natural things she's doing, as well as the allopathic stuff. But she suddenly got a zest for life again, because she was kind of going along in her own way and overdoing things in many different ways, thinking the same way,
pushing
and
too hard, upset about this,
Yeah.
just, triggers, just constantly just being triggered. She's at such, like, she's just in this state of grace right now. She's so creative. Her career's like thriving again. She's just like constantly touring, but in a healthy way. She said she takes moments on stage where, the people are applauding at the end. And she goes, I've never took the moment to receive. So when they were giving their applause or their cheers, to just sit in gratitude and just receive that. Her relationship, she's in a relationship for the first time in a long time. She's been for the past year with a partner, and her relationship with her children, her relationship with her family, like so much healing has come from her cancer journey.
And she basically, whether that gave her cancer or not, it definitely contributed or made it worse, which was that aggressiveness. When we were talking again, like everything's connected, we were talking about right at the beginning, the first question about COVID and why people have got so aggressive after this. She was one of those people just pushing and wanting, and got very negative about a lot of different things, and not looking at all the beauty in her life. And suddenly she had to focus on, oh, there's so much beauty in my life. Why am I so down on that? And then suddenly she's flourishing now. It's almost like a second coming, which is beautiful to watch. So it sometimes disease comes in that form to nudge us and shove us and prod us just to look another way. So I think that's happening in all directions. It doesn't have to be disease. It can be anything. It could be a rude person. It could be a beautiful person. It could be whatever. But we have to be the one paying attention, and often we miss it. So it happens in another form and another form until we do take notice. So let's move on to next. Hello. Hi, you have to unmute.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
hello.
Hi, it's Dina.
Hi,
How are
Dina.
you?
I thought it was
Your
you.
photos.
It's so small
Hello.
and you're kind of back and your head.
Oh,
Hi,
sorry. Hi. It's
Dina.
nice to see you.
So good to see you.
So lovely.
Yes, beautiful. So I was going to ask, you're talking about making the change to move back to LA, and I'm imagining there was some maybe resistance initially with it, or through the process, or maybe even now. So my question is, when you're faced with something of making that big of a change, and you may be feeling some resistance to it, how do you, or what practices are there that you can do to be able to move through the resistance so that you could see the bigger picture?
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when the mind is calmer, through slower breathing, through different meditations, that's kind of what we do. We sit and we reflect. The mind wants to always come in and say, well, here are the positive side and here's the negative side of whatever you're doing. And it sort of becomes a very mental process. But before that, the heart is there. You've heard what is actually better. So taking our example, Jmar came to me and she was like, we're moving to LA. And I said, oh,
I'll explain. that.
okay. So I have great trust in her intuition,
Mm.
although I was thinking, why would I want to do that? That sounds
Right.
crazy idea. It makes no sense, right? Because the mind is saying family's all down there, everything you do is down there,
Yeah.
everything is peaceful, it's all grounded, it's beautiful. But what I did was, in my case, because there's two of us, I just went into, she's seen the bigger picture. I'm not there.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
didn't.
Okay.
Or she faked it.
She pretended to.
But then I'm just finding this out. I'm very upset.
I'll explain. Yeah, it wasn't a choice like that. I'll get to your answer too, Dina, because I'll tell you how I navigated through the process. It literally was one business meeting with our business manager and of, you know, all of you, I think you've heard us just talk about in these different calls that we've had about us going to Oregon and wanting to get land there and build a
Mm.
community there and the center there and, you know, community living and all of that. And we are still actively doing that. Last year, we made our first official offer on something. It didn't happen, but I was still on that. This house in LA had been rented out for 9 years while we were living down in Huntington Beach. And in order for us to get all of the tax benefits, we have to live in this house for 2 years out of every 5. So when we sell it to get the tax benefits from it. So it was in one meeting that I said, well, if Oregon is on the plan and we're going to let go of LA, you know, let's just do this. And like that, it was a knowing. So yes, the intuition was there because it was something, yeah, the mind triggered it in a meeting saying, yeah, this is what we're doing. So that's when I came home from that meeting to say, we're going to move back to LA. I didn't realize we had to actually let go of Huntington Beach to move back to LA and how all that happened, but it was about clocking in our 2 years for this other bigger goal.
Mm.
Then I was up here and going, whoa, what are we doing up here? What am I doing up here again? And that's when the sitting comes. And this is what I was talking about in the beginning of, we can call it meditation, but it's leaving the beta wave, the wave that the state of mind that we function on from the moment that we wake until the moment that we sleep. So we live our days in this conscious small percentage of our mind and in a beta wave. That mind is the mind that's resisting. That
Okay.
mind that, you know, doesn't want the change. That mind wants the comfort. That mind wants the knowing. It wants to
Right.
visualize, it wants to think, it wants to be in control, it wants to take the action, it thinks that it knows all and then resists change. But the other, and by the way, that state of mind makes up about 5% of the mind's power and potential. 5%. The 95% force is the knower. It is the wisdom. It is where intuition is. And that's where we have to, as Yogi said, breathe, slow down, do the practices to activate the waves of the brain that cross over into that 95%. In that 95%, you know, when you start to just activate an alpha wave, an alpha has a zone, you know what I mean? Like there's a zone of 4 to 5 hertz in the brain. When you start to sit in that wave and you leave the analytical mind, the resistance factor of your mind, you'll start to feel into things differently. And now we're almost at our 2-year mark. October we'll do our 2-year mark. And what did I tell you the other day? We're not going anywhere. We have a lot to do here. And this is where we're going to stay. So Oregon, it's still on the horizon, but maybe a little further than we thought. So that's also, you know, we have to always surrender to this flow, and that flow of our heart, of our atma, of our soul is not the flow that we know in our conscious mind. We're going to tune in to that flow when we're activating those brain waves. So doing any kind of breath work or meditative practice or coming into stillness, that's where you're going to be able to tune into the flow. That's where you're not reactive. That's where you have the ability to let go and go with the flow and what's right for you. So that's what I say, like time for more stillness and just quiet that resistant factor of mind, come into that state of being, you know, that yogini in you, practices that you know, and you'll start to feel like you won't feel the resistance in that state, and things will start to open up. And it's the strangest thing that you were resisting will all of a sudden be that you want to flow with.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So
You
it's
don't-
in the
From
quiet.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But enough to know that thing that speaks to you first, maybe just the beginning of something that just needs to keep expanding and opening. So your willingness to be open and not say it's only moving to LA, that's all it is.
Right. It's beyond that. There's something bigger.
Well, that's the beginning of it if you're flowing with it. But if you allow it to, it will keep expanding and it will show you where it's going, because it's not a journey of A to B. It's a journey of A to Z. And you've got to, you know, because we like to put things in pockets, right? And say, just for us to understand them. But if we don't understand them, it's better. You know, because then we're more willing to constantly move with it, knowing that we're being led somewhere, and that somewhere is leading us to somewhere else, to somewhere else, to somewhere else, and it keeps going, rather than, oh, it's this. So whenever the mind goes, it's this, it's not that.
It's not.
But I love what he just said about understanding, because there's different kinds of understanding. There's, like I said, the understanding that 5% factor of mind that you're functioning on all day long, that is the predominant state of being that you're living in, that understanding is a limited understanding. There is a more expanded understanding that's going to be different from that limited understanding. And that is what you're going to get by doing any kind of practice to slow down the mind and access that deeper understanding and more expanded understanding.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
In time is the one thing that we're all kind of either slaves to, or we allow time to just be. As soon as we try to put time in a box, we're either late, we don't have enough of it, or right. So the other day I was catching myself thinking about this TV show I'm pitching and the whole thing, it could take 10 years. It could take 20 years. I have no idea how long these things take. They take their own time.
Right.
So I nearly caught, I was catching myself going, and I was trying to put it in a box of, well, when we do that, this will happen, that will happen. I'm like, well, that's the future. That's not reality, and none of it's happened. So let's deal with the present. What are you doing right now? And then boom, I was doing whatever I was doing, you know. So it's a constant keeping us here in this moment is already enough work, you know.
The best
Yeah.
story was in India when we were going on some road trip, you know, like to drive 3 hours to go have lunch with someone or something, because that's what we do in India. And then drive back all in a day. And so, but I was, you know, my mind was calculating, you know, because I always like to be back at temple for my evening sadhana or whatever it was. And so I had asked, so what time will we be back? And the priest, you know, Suresh, who you've always seen, the main priest that married us, he asked Ashok, the driver, and said, you know, in their language in Kannada, he asked him my question, what time will we be back? But in their language, and all I heard was Ashok say something back, and they both just started laughing. And I said, okay, what? And he said, we can only know what time we leave. We cannot control the time that we'll be back. We cannot know the time that we will be back. And I'll never forget that. We both just kind of went, we're always trying to project ahead to think that we can control, but the reality is we only know now.
Right. Right. But that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
To not have to always know when the end is.
Yeah.
You know what? Because that just puts a limit on it, right? So that's kind of the beauty of India. I've been there a few times, and it's kind of just like just go with it. You have to just go with the flow, and but it's kind of nice to live that way sometimes, because here everything is so like, you know, so
set.
At times I travel with, you know, like a wealthy family, and I take care of them, and to me their life has become very rigid. There's no spontaneity in it because everything is timed, and when it doesn't go to time, and something is wrong. So if it didn't happen on time, something went wrong, right? So you're constantly in that place where you're at war with time, you know, because you've got all the money at this point in the world. Now time is the issue. So we have to be careful, you know, what we wish for and what we think about and all that, because everything in our head at some point will come true, you know. So we have to keep it, you know, positive, open, and in your case, what you were asking about, keep everything expansive and allow it to be what it needs to be, rather than what you and I think it should be.
Right.
Because we don't ultimately know what it should be. It's going to show us what it should be, which takes trust, which takes.
That's what I was going to say. There, you have to have some trust, some faith, and there's something that knows more than what I think I know.
Exactly.
I don't know anything.
Yeah. Well, when we allow the trust, and we know we don't know it, then it's a freedom there's a freedom about that thought, which is, well, let's see how it develops. You know, it's not that anxiety of, well, I don't have control over it, you know, because anxiety of control brings a lot of fear, because ultimately we all do know we're not in control, but we like to pretend we are.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So good to see you.
It's so nice to see you. Yeah. Thank you.
So lovely to see you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Hi, Kieran.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. After a long time, we're meeting now.
Oh, I know.
So I am so happy that you did this. Because it's been a long time. See you guys.
We've been meaning to do it many times.
Yes.
Yeah. So my question, we've been talking about the karma a lot in this session. So do you think that any disease is also part of your karma, previous karma? Any disease you may have, or the reason I'm asking is my grandnephew, he's only 18 months, and we have to go through the bone marrow transplant. Everything went good, but now he's in critical. So
Mhm.
we've been doing prayers, and we pray, and we keep thinking like, he's only 18. What karma he did? But I think probably from the previous life, we believe that.
Mm.
So we surrender ourselves and, keep telling God that we put this boy into your feet, you take care of it. But I still ask myself, like, what else can we do?
Mhm.
Do you know his Mahadasha right now?
Yeah, what
Is he, go,
astrology,
is he going through K2?
Vedic astrology, what
I I don't think they ever, he's only 18, so I don't think we ever had any reading for him. I can ask my sister
yeah.
if they, but
Yeah,
right now we just so much worried. I hope he comes out from here, this, and So since we talk about the karma, I was like, is that any karma that playing this?
yeah, it's all karma.
It's all karma.
Yeah.
You see, the beautiful thing about karma is we are all governed by it, because karma, the word just means action. That's simple. That's all
Yeah.
you need to know about karma, action.
Yes.
Every
Mhm.
action, there's an opposite equal reaction, right? You throw a stone on the water, it bounces off. You throw a stone at glass, it breaks it. You throw a stone at somebody, it can hurt them. You just throw a stone in the air like this, it doesn't. So same stone, different reactions based on whatever you did with that stone. That is the very basic way of explaining karma.
Yeah.
But when we understand that, somebody came into the body, we call it a soul, spirit, whatever you want to call it. That is connected to the universal energy
Yes.
being soul. So I like to see it as the Atma, the soul in everybody's body, is just a drop of water from the universal ocean that drops into this body, into your body. That soul knows exactly what it needs to do and to fulfill its karma. It's come here to do. So the mind is separate. The mind is not connected to the soul. So the mind doesn't understand why. The mind wants to always know why and then how. So our guru, and guru means teacher, said to us once, and I asked her, I said, sometimes when I'm thinking about purpose and all of these things, I have a conflict in my head. And she said, when you align your mind with your soul's purpose, you won't have a conflict.
Mm.
And that we do in meditation.
Right.
That, right? Because there's no longer thinking, we are intuitive, we see everything clearly, and we just need to do. It's almost like we just need to fulfill what the soul came here to do. So when we're talking about disease, we do everything we can to help that body and that mind and that person, right? That's why we have their astrological chart done to see where they're at. We look at their body physique, we look at their personality, we're looking at everything, and we're putting in maximum effort to help them live, knowing if the spirit is only come here for what we call 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 6 months, 2 days, 1 hour, there's nothing we can do.
You're right.
Right? So spirituality brings us a lot of comfort in knowing there's a reason for everything, but we may not always know that reason.
Right.
And we know that the soul can heal itself in 1 second because the soul is connected to the greater ocean of the divine.
Divine.
And if it doesn't want to, it's for a good reason, because it only needs to spend this amount of time in this body, because spiritually speaking, there is no time. So we may call it, 2 years, 5 years, 100 years. There is no time for the spirit. It just pops in this body and pops out.
Yeah.
We just happen to call it different, 1 hour, 5 years, and all of that.
Right.
And of course, we're connected to souls, we're all connected, and we want to see souls in that body as long as possible. But there is a time expiration date for that body for all of us. So it kind of gives us comfort to know, yeah, the soul can in a second heal itself. But if it doesn't, if it does, it may have to go through this difficulty, what we call cancer, and it may come out of it or it may not. But we do know it can if it wants to, and that's why we also pray to the divine and say, we know everything's in your hands because you created the universe. So if you if we pray to the one who created the universe, then we know it has control of all things. Yeah. So
I have a different experience in understanding karma. And it happened when I was in this year sadhana that our guru had given me. I started, when you're doing any deep spiritual sadhana for 365 days straight, you are deep within consciousness. And what I started to get a drishti inside of and understand is that karma was imprints, samskaras onto our consciousness. So whether we have done an action and that imprinted onto our consciousness, or whether that action was done to us and that imprinted onto our consciousness, that samskara has us moving forward in life in a certain energy that's going to attract a certain kind of energy. So that's karma, or that samskara is causing us to move forward in life in a way that is help me here, I just lost my track.
by the way, samskara means an impression.
It is an impression. It's like an energetic pattern. So whether we're attracting that energy or whether it's creating a belief system in us that causes to move forward in certain ways and activate potentials in our life because of that karma, be it positive or negative, or to activate potentials within our body, which is proven that, we can all have cancer exists within the body, but is the mind, is the consciousness that has these impressions in it, like this karmic code of impressions going to activate that potential of cancer within the genetics of this body at this time in life. Whether you believe in incarnation or not, the fact is that when you are in the womb of the mother and the spinal column is being developed, you become an imprint of your mother's nervous system at that time, while the spine is developing. Your first imprint in your consciousness came from your mother. It was your mother's imprint, and she got it from her mother's womb. And we've all gotten this from the mother's womb that goes back to the beginning of that lineage, even if you think that this is your first birth. So you have that karma, those millions of impressions that you don't even know how far they go back, of fears, of phobias, of likes, of dislikes, of belief systems, and then all of a sudden you start to live your life in an environment surrounded by a family that's all going to give you new karmas, new actions that are happening, that are leaving more impressions and more impressions that are altering your belief systems and your fears and your phobias and your likes and your dislikes, that are causing you to move forward and create more action that's going to attract more action, or that you are energetically of a certain energy that's going to attract that energy. It's all energy. It's all consciousness. It's all karma in the same way. So what we can do is when someone is going through this journey, we can, especially as when the work that we do is come to serve them to get to the root of what that karma is and rewire it, release it. We can collectively pray for the healing of that release of karma. You know, in India, they do rituals, they do fire rituals, they do prayers. In any spiritual practice or religion, the power of prayer is so powerful because you have collective consciousness coming together with the same intention of the heart. When the mind is setting an intention in the heart, it's coming from the feeling of the heart. It's so powerful. The signals that you're sending out there to the collective, to this soul that is going through this karma, that it has the power to heal. So that's how I started to see karma, and it's so deep. And that's what our guru said. I said to my guru once, I had an aversion to one of the other gurus in our lineage, which was kind of weird. And I said, you know, I kind of have this aversion to this other guru in our lineage. And she said, you don't have to think about that, Jema. We don't know where these things come from. Because they can be so deep. Just even from the womb of the womb of the womb, or the lifetime of the lifetime of the lifetime, whatever your belief system is. But the fact is, it's deep in our unconscious, but it is affecting our now. So that is the karma. That's this invisible play of energy that's, you know, guiding us, that's traveling with us. But we do have the ability to express it, to release it. And surely we have the ability as a collective to, with our heart's intention and our head's intention and prayers, to help others heal as they go through that karmic journey.
Yeah, and that's what we as a family we're doing. My niece is in California. She's in LA, and the baby is in the hospital. And he came, as you said, we don't know. He came with the genetic defects. So to cure, they have to give the bone marrow of his, the older boy. And everything was going fine. We were happy, like process is working. And all of a sudden, because it's the new body, new things going on, body attacking on the organs. So that's what, so the lungs are suffering, the kidneys are suffering, and they're going through all kind of the stuff. He has a breathing tube because he couldn't. So we were like all thinking that, how come that comes to our family? We all have a good genes. But they said the doctor says it's coming from either side of it. From so many forefathers, somebody had that kind of the defect that comes now. And since we are all connected, and our karma is probably also connected, so we all are suffering, and it's terrible to even watch. So we are so far from her, but my sister's there, but we all are praying. We do a lot of Mrityunjay mantras. But at the end, my mind, I'm also the practice. I also the spiritual practitioner. So I always think that somehow the karma is doing all that. So how can we release him from this karma? And all I know is the prayer.
Yeah. When we were in India last time, you know, somebody we were with, I'm going through a Saturn phase for the next 17, 18 years. And they said, if you go to this temple, the Saturn temple, Shani temple, you can, you know, erase many of your karmas. And we were discussing in the car when we were going, we were saying, should we erase our karmas or should we live through them?
Yeah, because you have to you have to pay that off.
Yeah,
This time or the next time. So it's better to leave it.
yeah. So that was the discussion, is do you go there and, you know, relieve yourself of karmas that you have to live anyway?
Yeah.
Or are you somebody who is moving towards the karmas because you want to get rid of them, burn them, burn them, burn them, right? So it depends on who you are. And as we were talking, everything's connected. So we were talking before, we have to get to know ourselves very well before we put ourselves into certain situations that we are willing to do what it takes when we take those steps. That's something we have to contemplate before we do a lot of these things, move, change jobs, you know, all the different things. But it's good that you have a spiritual practice because it makes sense of, you know, it, instead of saying, why is it happening to us? I always used to think of myself when it's happening to me, why not? Why not me? You know, because I'm asking for it to come to my way because I do want to burn karma. So we were talking with somebody the other day, having a session, and she said, you went on the yogic path, you call yourself yogi, and then you're surprised when some of the things come to you that are on that path. I said, you're right. You know, it was a funny thing because I hadn't sat with another yogi for a while, and they were like, well, what did you think? You apple tree only gives apples, right? only a fool stands underneath it and goes, I'm waiting for an orange. So all of us, no matter how evolved we are, not evolved we are, whatever it is, we have to commit to the thing that is at our level. You know, it's very important to commit. I remember going on the spiritual path right at the beginning, and I wanted all of it. But this body wasn't ready for it. This mind wasn't ready for it. And if I was given even a little bit more than I got, you know, I would have just been so far gone. So very important. But yeah, keep praying, keep doing what you need to do, but just always know the divine is in charge, and way you know the right thing is going to happen, and it's
wholehearted prayers for the healing of your beloved.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks.
So this is I think we'll call it a day for now. It's been beautiful connecting with you all.
So beautiful.
Yeah. Yep.
And we'll do this again. We kind of leave.
It won't be another year, we promise.
Yeah, that was the longest one. We wait so long.
Talk about losing track of time. We became very Indian.
Right. And then we saw the on, you know, I'm always following you guys. So we're like, oh, they got the bigger house. So they are now busy just setting that up.
Yeah. Oh, so many things to do here.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, but it's evolving. Like you guys, we're evolving, you're evolving. We're all doing what we need to do, you know, which is important. And taking care of things. And we got a lot of duties. So, but we'll do this again. We tend to do this.
You are all welcome to come and visit us when you are here in LA. The door is open. There's always food. There's always herbal teas, and one of us is
Yeah.
always here, unless we're in India, which everyone would know.
Yeah, so yeah, feel free, email us if you're around.
Yes, please
And
come.
we'd love to see you, and yeah, and we'll see you again soon on another session.
Aw.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Yeah,
I'm so happy to see all of you.
yeah, so good to see you.
Namaste.
Yeah,
Mm.
have a beautiful weekend.
Thank you too.
Namaste.
Bye.
Bye.
Namaste. Thank you.
Bye, you're welcome. Bye. So nice.
We're gonna get that tour of your apartment downstairs.
Oh,
You want it?
Yeah.
do we have time?
I have a few minutes. It's
Okay.
11:40. Yeah.
Let me
Will it work if I go down?